Alright, what's good, y'all? As y'all can see by the title of this video, I'm going to be breaking down the pros and cons of working for Hogan Personnel, LLC. I was with Hogan for 10 months. I worked with Hogan from the month of February to October. So that was my first trucking job, straight out of truck school. After I got my CDL, I went straight to Hogan, and I worked for Hogan for 10 months. I'm gonna be breaking down this video into 5 categories. I'm gonna explain those categories, and then I'm gonna give, an overall rating of 1 through 10, whether or not I think, you should work for them or not. Number 1, which I think is the most important, pay. So the pay with Hogan was good for me, I think. There would be times when I would be at a truck stop and I would talk with other truckers, and I'd tell them how much I was getting paid, ask them how much they was getting paid, and they look at me and be like, that's it? But the pay was good for me. Let me explain why. So weekly, I could say that I averaged about $1,400 a week take home. That's after taxes and everything. I'm gonna go through some of my pay stubs so you can see what I'm talking about. Now let me tell you, that $1,400 a week I was making was basically if I didn't go home. There would be times you'll see on my pay stubs where I go home for the weekend and I would only make like $800 or $1,000, but that was still good for me because I was going home, and I could go home, whenever I wanted to. So if I wanted to go home for the weekend, I knew my check was going to be a little bit shorter than usual. But for somebody like me who was single, no kids, I could stay out as long as I want to. If I'm staying out, I'm bringing home $1,400 a week pretty consistently. Let me show you. So like I said, I worked there from February to October of last year, and these are some of the numbers. So you can see October 27th, $1,400. October 20th, $802. October 20th. Oh, I got 2 checks. October 20th. Oh, okay. So, I believe the 676 that I got, I believe that was a safety bonus. So even right there, you can see I brought home $1,400 that week. Even though I most likely went home that week, I still brought home $1,400 because of the safety bonus. Before that, $1,045. That might have just been a slow week. Before that, $1,377, $1,405, $1,405, $1,508, $1,478, $1,622, $1,225. That might have just been a slow week. $1,535, $1,539, $1,000. Probably went home that weekend. $1,479, $1,266, $1,461, $1,438, $1,139, $849, $1,609, $1,533, $802, $1,000, $1,498. Payday of $1,027. You can see I grossed $1,983. My take home was $1,472. So line haul, that's how far I drove. I had drove 531 miles. I had 4 stops and 1 lumper. The next load I drove 674 miles. I had 1 stop, 1 lumper. The next load I drove 110 miles. I had 3 stops, 1 lumper. And the last load, I drove 489 miles, 4 stops, 1 lumper. So I got 4 loads in for that week, and I grossed just under $2,000. So I pretty much lived out of the truck. I didn't have a lot of bills. I wasn't paying rent. I wasn't paying a car note. So at $1,400 a week was a great pay, especially coming from my previous job. I worked for SCF Lewis and Clark, which is on the Mississippi River. If some of you are familiar with those tugboats who push like the barges around, I was on the boat tying up barges together. Manual labor, hard work. I was working minimum 60 hours a week, sometimes 70, 80 hours a week, just to get paid roughly, after taxes, I say roughly $1,700, $1,800 every 2 weeks. So going from that to averaging about $1,400 a week was great for me, with less work and roughly the same amount of hours. But I was on the Dollar General account, so I was unloading my truck. It's a whole truck, whole 53-footer every day. But it wasn't bad for me because I liked the fact that I was able to get out of the truck and do some work for a while. It wasn't just driving and bumping docks. I was able to, drive. I think my longest haul was probably like 600 miles, roughly, both ways. So at the most, I'm only driving like 300 miles out, unloading, driving 300 miles back. So that's how y'all see I was able to get in 4 loads that week. And that was pretty much average, 3 to 4 loads. 2 if I have to drive really far and it's slow, maybe I want to go home that weekend. And 4 if I'm knocking them out quick, there's not a lot of driving, and I just stay out. But the lifestyle was good. I was able to go home whenever I wanted to. All I did to do was call them, tell them, hey, I want to go home this weekend. They said, cool. It was a regional route. I only covered the Midwest states. I probably drove to Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, Kentucky, Iowa, Indiana, and Nebraska. Unloading the truck wasn't bad for me. Like I said, it was a good situation. So the next category I'm gonna get into is support. Support is a big thing when you're working with these trucking companies. You gotta have a strong support system, and they have to be willing to work with you and listen to you. Because I done heard, people getting into it with their dispatcher about loads, and some of these guys be way out, and they have a hard time getting a hold of somebody. If they break down or anything, or they have an issue with the shipper or receiver. So with Hogan, at least in the Dollar General Fulton account, I can say that it was a small community. I had 2 dispatchers. There were 3, but they downsized. It was 2 dispatchers, and I was able to get either one of them on the phone easily, no problems, quickly. They were always helpful. I had an account manager that was always helpful. I could get her on the phone easily if I had a problem with the load and the dispatchers weren't answering the phone or they were busy. The safety manager, I had his number. I could get him on the phone and talk to him about any issues with DOT or any issues with my truck safety-wise. So I can say they have a great support system on the Dollar General side. I'm not sure about over the road. I think they call it HTI. I had heard from one of the guys I was in the orientation class with that the pay didn't add up to, the miles. I think he said it was like 45, 50 cents a mile. He was driving a lot, out all the time, wasn't getting paid like he wanted to get paid. And I don't know how well, their support system is there, but I can say from my experience, I had a great team with me. Next thing I want to get into is training. Hogan's training is 1 week in classroom and then 3 to 4 weeks with your trainer. The classroom process was a breeze. It's a lot of information in there that's really helpful for the job. It doesn't matter how much experience you have with other companies. If you've never worked for Hogan, you got to go through their training, their orientation. And they gave me probably some of the best training that any trucking company has to offer. So like I said, this was my first trucking company, so I didn't know anything about trucking. I'm coming in fresh out the gate. They're telling me about, how to manage my clock and how to decipher like how long it's gonna take me to get from point A to point B. If you're not used to driving over the road, you could pretty much bet if you have a governed truck that you're gonna drive roughly 500 miles a day, 50 miles per hour. So let's say if you gotta drive 400 miles, 9 times out of 10 it's gonna take you 8 hours. I've definitely gotten places faster than that time, but you always want to just use that reference because you'll never go wrong with that. You'll always be safe with that. So that's something I learned from Hogan. Now I can say I done heard plenty of horror stories from people who get their trainer, and either their trainer's an asshole or they just can't get along with their trainer, or their trainer has a dog. I don't know what I would have did if my trainer had a dog. I probably would have quit. Give me another trainer or something, because that's something I'm not willing to pull up with. But luckily, I got a great trainer. Me and this dude are still friends to this day. We talk on the phone probably like every other week. And he looked out for me. And I actually found out with my trainer that I perform better under pressure, because there'll be a wide open spot that'll take me 10 minutes to get into, when I first started. But anytime there was like other trucks around or a whole bunch of people looking or traffic, I would just back that thing in there in 2 minutes, no problem. But working the Dollar General account, you're going to come into a lot of different situations, because you're not just bumping docks. You're pulling up to stores, and a lot of times there's traffic, cars zooming in and out of the parking lot. They don't stop for you. So you got to watch out for that. And every store is pretty much different. Like, you're not pulling up to the same door every day. You're not pulling up to the same dock every day. Sometimes you do have docks, but sometimes you have doors. And you just got to get out, look at the store, see how you can get in there, unload your truck. But I think my trainer definitely prepared me for everything that I was going to go through. Any situation I felt uncomfortable in, he coached me through it. After I got done training, I could call him anytime. He'll answer the phone and coach me through a situation. But I feel like as far as Hogan's safety and training, They have probably one of the best training programs out there. Last thing I want to go over is the truck. So when I first started, I think I had a 2019 Freightliner. No, 2019 International. Yeah. I had a 2019 International. This was in 2023, so what's that? 4 years old. You know, those miles rack up on trucks quick, so 2019, it's not old, but it's definitely not a brand new truck. It probably had roughly 500,000 miles on it, maybe 400. But it was a good truck. I say after about 3 months of, you know, them seeing me putting in work, because I'm telling you, I didn't go home much at all. They upgraded me to a 2022. And 2022, it was a good truck. It was a great truck. It had a lot more safety features than the 2019 had, like automatic braking and a blind spot indicator. But you got to get used to that type of stuff, because sometimes I feel like these trucks be too safe. You know, automatic braking in a situation that doesn't require it, and the blind spot detector going off in a situation, again, that doesn't require it. But all in all, the truck was clean. It ran good. I didn't have any problems. Maintenance wasn't an issue. Every time I did my pre-trip or my post-trip, if I found any discrepancies, I'll take it straight to Hogan's maintenance shop and they'll fix it right away. So there was never any situation where I was broke down, waiting on maintenance or none of that. And it was very quick. That's what I appreciated the most about Hogan. So all in all, I have to give Hogan a 9 out of 10. There wasn't really a lot of cons with Hogan. The only bad part about working for Hogan was I don't think there was no bad parts about working for Hogan. I didn't have a bad experience. So I probably got to give him a 10 out of 10. I didn't have no bad experiences working for Hogan. I'm really trying to think of anything that went wrong. Nah, I'll still be working for him to this day if I didn't have a medical situation going on where, you know, I took leave and then I was forced to resign. So 10 out of 10. If you want to apply to Hogan, go ahead. I can only say that, like I said, because I was working a Dollar General account and I was working how I wanted to work. Anybody else probably give you a different story, because like I said, they had over the road guys that, you know, didn't like it. If you don't like working and getting out and unloading the truck, you're not gonna like this job. So, you know, like I said, that's just my experience though. Like this video if it was helpful. Comment if you worked for Hogan before or you plan on working for Hogan, and subscribe to the channel for more content.